we get the confirmation that it's going. I don't know why, but it's always like, there we go. Okay. All right. Well, let's go ahead and get started. I know that we had a couple that they might be coming in late, so we'll see how that goes. But first things first, as far as the agenda goes for today, we do have the approval of April minutes. Did anybody have a chance to read that over? Anybody have any questions, comments, concerns?
None. Move to approve.
All right, is there a second?
I'll second.
I'll speak up at once. Thank you, Randy. We'll go ahead and get that pushed through. And yeah, we will move on that. Wanted to provide my updates for the last month. So moving on to that, started off with UTA and Adopt. Now I kind of sent it out.
Is it my internet or Curtis's internet?
It's Curtis. Curtis is.
Oh, my internet.
You're frozen. You're frozen.
You're frozen.
And Randy said he didn't like you anymore, so he left. I don't know what happened there, but.
Let's see. Can you hear me here? Anything? Nothing? Okay. Don't know what happened there. All right. Anyway, so getting back to that, our had the conversation with UTA and Adopt a Stop. I think we're going to have a pretty good opportunity there to really get some membership involvement. It's free for us. They actually kind of kicked in money. They are eager to find partners. So I think between all of that, it should be a pretty good opportunity for our membership to get involved and expand. And it's a quick and easy kind of recruiting tool on that front. So I think we're good there. Also attended the South Salt Lake Sugar House chapter meeting. It was a small meeting. It was myself, Randy, Scott, and then Devin. So we mostly just kind of sat around and talked. Not the greatest, but at the same time, it did kind of set the idea of what these things could start looking like, working. Got to see if more activity there as people start to sign up and do things. Now that we're starting to get some in and a couple dues, really encourage Scott to start attending local events, and we can probably swing for like a small band, $50. Maybe get some materials for them as well. So I want to start working on that. Reach side of things. Twitter, that was fun. Mostly positive response, and then a few trolls that trolled. But got a nice little bump in membership on that as far as people signing up and getting involved, and kind of moving over into the fundraising side of things. One of the things that I'm starting to do now is instead of just saying, "Hey, you should totally sign up and be a member," now I'm starting to transition to, and you know, if you give us $5 or $60 a year, whatever. We can start building out the stickers program. So it's a quick and easy way, but as I've started asking that, I'd say about 1 in 20 actually go ahead and do that, which isn't terrible, especially for free, no effort trying to get funding. So starting to work on that as well. On the fundraising side of things, more specifically, I did look into the UTA CARES Act. That was something that we discussed during the last meeting. It's going to be a no-go for us. That funding has already disappeared for the most part as far as outreach is concerned. And it really was just focused on, hey, let's keep things going during the pandemic. The pandemic is officially over. Hooray. So I don't think we're going to get much done on that front. I did complete the donor list cleanup. So I feel like that is in a place where we are good to go. If you have, I don't call to everybody, but I would really encourage everybody to kind of go through, especially the individual donors list, and see if there are people that you know well enough to be willing to say, hey, would you be willing to contribute? Otherwise, my plan is to basically send out a bunch of letters. I know it's not the cheapest. $50 ask should mostly pay for themselves. That's been my experience in the past as far as that is concerned. And so that's kind of the next step. So I would really encourage, and I will put this out in the email as well, but I would really encourage people to take a look at the names see if there's anybody that you feel you can actually get some funding out of, and then we can continue to work from there.
Where did you put this,
Related to that, yes.
Curtis, where did you put this?
I
in the email?
believe I put that in the shared drive that we have in Teams. Yeah, it's under potential donors, but even then, I can go ahead and get the file out and email it out to you guys. I thought I did, but I know it's at least in that Teams folder. But yeah, so I really want to encourage us to find individual names over the course of maybe the next week or two, and just see if there's anybody you personally feel like. I found a couple people on there that I feel I can approach directly and say, hey, can you give us some funding? And then from there, I want to just go ahead and blanket spam via letter, of course. Also got a number of good names from corporations and businesses. And on that front, I've been starting to work. I've submitted to the Larry H. Miller Foundation, Rocky Mountain Power. I am working on an Eccles one for the Dolores Story Eccles Foundation now. I have several more. In fact, Zach, who's not on the line, it looks like, but he sent over, what was it? It was, I want to say it was the Bicycle Collective or something like that. And they had a lot of great donor names on there. So I'm starting to work through those lists now. That's really where I'm shifting the majority of my focus, is specifically anything fundraising. I'm really cutting down on any sort of outreach or membership building at this point. The things that I send out, like the map for Transit Imagine, is, yes, I'm excited about it, but it's not the primary goal. It's anyway, so I might as well throw it there and get a little excitement going. But I really am planning on just writing grant requests going forward. Let's see. I think it was Randy that you put the stickers out there. Yes, so we haven't sold today, but we have had a number of people become members, if that makes sense. So we had kind of tiers. We had the, hey, if you want to be a member, give us $5 a month, $60 for the year. So we had, like, I think it was 6 or 7 new people, or no, we had 5 new members actually sign up on that. Starting to go out. It's starting to get there. We haven't just had anybody say, yeah, I'm willing to drop $750 for a single sticker. But, you know, I mostly just wanted to have a price point that was distinct and enough to where it's like, no, I'm actually doing a thing. So that's kind of where that fell on that one. And then, yeah, I started pitching that membership and actually being a dues paying member during the Twitter ask whenever anybody signs up. And like I said, maybe 1 in 20 people have signed up on that one. On the networking side, I met with Becca Rolfe the other day. She is with Salt Lake City's Transportation Department. It was a really great conversation, specifically on how to, like, tailor and hone some of our grant requests and who to talk to specifically on that front. So she had a lot of suggestions for, like, consulting firms, and instead of calling it this, call it that, and a lot of different ways to refine it a little bit. And she also mentioned that a lot of organizations are coming up to the end of their fiscal year and they need to use it or lose it. So I also want to make sure people like the council, for example, to say, hey, do you have a couple bucks lying around that you could throw our way? So again, my focus really is going to be just going out and trying to get funding one way or the other. Let's see, as far as upcoming activities are concerned, I'm going to continue to work on Transit Imagine, mainly on the landing page. I feel like I've gotten about as far as I can get as far as here's generally what we're talking about, but we need your help making this a specific program. Like, I at least want to get something up so that people have something to look at. And then, yeah, just going to be sitting at letterhead, getting that sort of stuff. Just a couple of here and there so that we can get more money in. So finally, by the numbers, we had 89 new Twitter followers. We're now standing at 774. No new TikTok followers. So at 12, 1 new YouTuber, now at 8, 14 new members. So we are now at 213 new members. 4 new people on our mailing list, which is now sitting at 40. So these aren't members, but they just want to keep getting information. And then 5 new dues paying members for the year, which is now sitting at 12. So at least we're getting some movement on those dues paying members, now that we have a little bit of something to at least incentivize them. And they seem to be enjoying those. So something's better than nothing when we're sending it out. So yeah, that's my update. Does anybody have any questions? Okay.
Hey, Curtis,
Yeah.
you were talking about the landing page and the website.
Yeah.
So this morning I was trying to find the minutes from last month's meeting, and I know you sent them out. Couldn't find them in my email, so I just went to the website to try and download them, and it kept getting a circular pattern where when it says download the meeting minutes, it would just open a new tab and then not do anything. So I think it's probably my incompetence, but it was difficult for me to figure out. I looked on my download file in my computer, and it didn't look like it was downloading it. It was just taking me to a new page, and they kept opening new tabs. So I don't know if you can.
Interesting. Where were you going specifically? Do you remember?
Well, I went to
It's a little tucked away.
What?
It's a little tucked away, so I'm just wondering where you went.
Well, I went to the governance page where it said meeting minutes, and there's a place that's obviously says meeting minutes, but it just didn't work.
Right.
So we can talk offline.
Minutes. Yeah, I'm clicking through now and I'm able to pull it up. So I'm wondering if maybe it was just something on your end.
Probably.
Yeah, because I'm able to get right to it.
It usually is. So okay, thank you.
But yeah, so it's there. It might have been just on your end. But yeah, any other questions?
I was pleased to see, just a comment, the reaction to Transit Imagined preview. 460 something likes and good conversation happening. And thanks for keeping the conversation going with replies there. So I think that's a good sign that there's an appetite for this conversation in Utah. So happy to see that. Yeah. There's some interesting responses, mostly positive. You know,
mostly positive.
You can get tied up with some people, some interesting theories, etc.
Yes.
But you know, when it comes to these things, it's about getting those positive responses and converting them into members and converting them into sustained interest and capacity building. So,
I mean, yeah, that's the thing is, I will admit there were a few times when I had to delete my snarky response because I really wanted it to be a snarky response, but instead I tried to do the whole spin it into it. I'm glad you agree that we need to have choice and we need to get off for and you know, instead of just being a snarky asshole.
Yeah. And some of them you just gotta leave them alone because
some of them you just don't touch. Like if it was my personal Twitter, yeah, I'd engage, but yeah, that's the way it is. Poor Chris, he had a fun little back and forth with someone who was insistent that we use the Mill Creek instead of Salt Lake on our addresses. That was a fun little.
Yeah, so I'm fairly certain that the guy Dave Forbes was one of the guys who worked on the incorporation at Mill Creek, and I opposed that. And so the only reason why they were doing that is because they picked up on my name with the. So that's why I wasn't going to let it go, because they are basically assholes. And the worst part of it is he knows that the post office isn't going to change their they're not going to drop Salt Lake City. They still use Salt Lake City for holiday, and believe it or not, if you look at the post office website and you look up the address for all the post offices in Murray and Holiday, the official address for the post office in Murray is Salt Lake City, Utah.
Yeah, no, I mean it's
so anyway, he was just being an asshole because he could, and I was fine to let him continue to be an asshole. So anyway,
right. Yeah, it's just the way it is more than anything.
I'm not changing my address, damn it.
Fair enough. But yeah, no, like you said though, there's definitely been I would say a very positive reaction on the whole to just that map that I threw out there into the world. So yeah, I think there is an appetite for it.
Where did you get that? Where did you get that map anyway? Who made it?
I made it. Yeah.
Okay. So the lines you just kind of like dabbled.
Yeah. No, I mean there was a logic to it, right? Like I wasn't just throwing down lines, but yeah, no, I just threw that together, mostly with the focus on front runner and what people I think are starting to call runner, which I kind of like actually.
To call what? I'm sorry.
So there's front runner, and then they want to start calling it lake runner. So to will
as long as we have a lake still.
Yeah, well, so swampy, salt marsh
Express.
Yeah, the Salt Marsh Express. Yeah, no, I just mostly wanted to have an actual visualization of just how wide ranging it would be instead of like a conceptual map, just like what you would see. Like, oh, here's where the stops are. Like, I wanted people to actually see the span of what we're trying to do. And so that's why I went with an actual map with throwing down lines that were, obviously if there's actual lines there, then I use that. But other than that, I use logical kind of progression, like if we were to continue things going forward. So like I said, it's there's a logic to it, but yeah, I just threw that together so that we had something to point to. And I'm going to be using that to build the Transit Imagined page on that front. So let's see. Anything else we want to talk about on that one? Okay.
We'll discuss fundraising later. Okay, cool.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a minute. I was hoping to have both Michael and Devin on to approve for having them on the board. I will need to follow up with them. I knew that Michael said that he was iffy and Devin was as well, just because it was a Sunday. So I will follow up with them. If we need to do just an email approval of them, I will go ahead and do that.
We don't have a quorum today either, do we?
Let's see. I guess if we have, because we haven't approved them. That's a curious question. Let's see. I don't think we do. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, we do have a quorum actually. As of right now, we have 5 board members officially, so we do have a quorum to do what we need to do. So what I can do is I can just go ahead and reach out to those guys, follow up. Like I said, they were iffy just for today. I'll see where they're at and see if even if we just have to do an email, hey, let's go ahead and make this official, then maybe we can do that. Related to that, I did want to put out a call for bios for board members really quick. I've had a couple of grant requests that are like, tell us more about your board. And so, it'd just be kind of nice to have something people want to know, hey, there's actually human beings here, and here's why they're passionate, and here's why they're doing what they're doing. So I'm planning on following up with you all individually, just for a brief bio, the classic, maybe 1 paragraph or 2. But I'm going to start following up with y'all just to do that. And I mostly just wanted to put that in your brain more than anything. Let's move on to the final one, though, unless there's anything else. And then the fundraising plan.
Hey,
go ahead, Chris.
Curtis, before we get into that, will you so I didn't realize this, but last month when I was traveling, I should have brought this up and I didn't. But that's because I was traveling. But next weekend we should be having our quarterly meeting.
Is that next weekend?
And this is what you need to mark off: February, May, and September, and October. That way we don't forget that, because now, right. I mean, the problem is that if we try to do one in June, nobody's going to show up because it's in the middle of summer. So, which is why we do it in May. So, I mean, we could throw together something and you could advertise it and we could just get together this Saturday, and I don't know, we could throw something together, but technically it should be this next weekend.
Okay, I'm gonna be full swing moving over the next, and that's why I missed that.
So basically, I mean, we could, technically, what's supposed to happen is the president is in charge of those meetings anyway. I mean, that's what's supposed to happen. So, again, I mean, we can just say, oops, we made an oopsie. I would not try to schedule it in June. just simply because June is again, we've gone down that route and nobody ends up showing up. So I would, I mean, we could do it. So the next one will be September. It is what it is. Or like I said, we could throw together something. John and I can do a dance. Maybe we can do a dance, John, can't we?
We could dance. We don't have much in terms of like guests and stuff like we did in February, so we don't have all that lined up. And I'll put it on my agendas as well and reminders for organizing moving forward, so that we are on top of it, so that we remember. I'm actually at a wedding on Saturday, so
no
tough.
worries. Like I said, you know, we don't necessarily have to do one, but that's my bad for not bringing it up in April because I normally am on top of these things. But again, I've been stressed. I'm getting old, old and stressed.
Well, it's definitely one of those. Oh, go ahead, Randy.
My thought is I'd rather have a meeting that isn't very well attended in June that we have time to let people know about than have one that's not very well attended because it was thrown together at the last minute next week.
Yeah, I mean,
So,
yeah, but again, the bigger problem is that the schedule that we have set up says February, May, September, and October. So, you know, if we throw together one in June, it's just going to be a yeah, I mean, my thought is I would just say let's skip it and go to September, and then plan on September, October, September for the quarterly, and then October for the annual. Just because again, we've tried to do June meetings, and June meetings just do not work. It's just like it will be just as poorly attended if we tried to throw together one here in May. So anyway, I just think it's I don't know, I would throw up something though, Curtis, that basically says, hey, we're oops or something, you know,
You know what I think I'll do is take advantage of our Discord server maybe and just say, hey, you know, we're not having an official meeting, just schedules didn't permit it, but let's keep the discussion going, and maybe that's how I can kind of launch the Discord server. That might not be a bad idea because I know that was put together. I just haven't had a chance to dive into that really. So that way we're still having a conversation, we're still discussing transit, we're still keeping it forward for our members.
If you put that up and then have a I'll make sure that I'm there. I'll be there to kind of kick it off and help people, anybody who shows up. I'm not very optimistic that there'll be a lot of people that will show up.
I don't think so either, but I think that it is a way to at least introduce it and kind of cover for that, because yeah, I will fully admit my personal life with getting ready and finding a place and all of that sort of stuff, this one just flew right past me. So that's my mistake as well.
Yep, but just so you
no, I know it's on there. It's on there.
That's
for
my
sure.
Card. That's my business card, and we
You
put
got
it
the
on
card
there for February, May, September, October.
Yep. So maybe that's how we'll handle that. Is kind of dive a little bit deeper and just say, hey, we're sorry we didn't have one more formally planned, but this is a way that we can kind of move forward and still make sure we're keeping the conversation going. Okay, let's talk about the fundraising plan. So I've already kind of told you some of the things that I've been thinking as far as obviously reaching out to grants and going through the list of individuals that I recognize on the fundraising list, and maybe having a little bit deeper of a conversation than just a letter in the mail. Otherwise, how many people are on? I basically, how I did it is I pulled literally anyone who contributed to a Democratic campaign over the past 2 years. And then I said, okay, anyone who contributed over $250 is at least going to get on this list. I think at the end of the day, oops, where'd it go? At the end of the day, I got roughly 1,000 names. Now, I'm not saying that we're going to send a letter to all of these people. In fact, I probably think we shouldn't, but I just kind of want to let you know that at least on the individual level, that's what I've identified. I'm probably going to start with, people who maybe gave 1,000. If I go with that, it's probably closer to, let's see, oops. There we go, come on. That's still actually a pretty sizable chunk. There's about 300 and some odd people that gave over $1,000. So I think I want to start there as far as reaching out. Again, though, if there are individual names that you see, excuse me. Oh, my allergies. I'm sorry. If there are individual names anywhere on that list, though, I would really encourage you guys to kind of pull those out, set them aside, and say, hey, I'm going to reach out to these people individually. Like I said, I will send out that file and just kind of follow up with you guys. But that's kind of what I'm thinking for the individuals. I also sent out my letter for you guys to just kind of take a look at. I wanted to have it look a little bit different from other ones. So I don't know if you like that, dislike that, if there's something else you want to do. But that is my thought. That is my suggestion. And yeah, I just kind of want to start a conversation around that.
Yeah. So on the so the letters are looking decent. I'm gonna have a look through them a little bit more detail. But my brief look, I liked that it's a good start. If you can forward me the donation list, because my Microsoft Teams logs into work, but then sometimes it logs into UTRU, so it's a little tricky sharing things there for me.
Sure.
The other thing is, so I made a donation this morning to keep us going, and then we just submitted our IRB for the Van Pools study. So that $2,000 that was in the grant for that should be coming our way, or I should be able to have a conversation with you, Curtis, about how we're going to set up that payment. As I just got the money released to me, to my team's account. So that'll be help us hobble along for a little bit longer here. And so that's what I got in terms of this. Have you used so I know you've been using ChatGPT to kind of do some stuff. Have you used it to, I was thinking last night about a fundraising strategy and talking with it around that, as you can fine tune it to give you some advice on these various things. Have you used it for, what have you been using it for?
So I was using it mainly for the Twitter feeds and the update feeds. Just last week, through Chris's company, we actually also got access. What was it called? I can't remember what it's called, but it's actually it's like
Copy AI.
It's a more robust system that's kind of the same. And so I've started using that a little bit. I need to dive into it a little bit more. How to use it effectively is the big, because in order to get a decent thing, you have to, if it's garbage in, it's garbage out, and vice versa. So it's a lot of kind of figuring out how to tell it what we want, as opposed to I just need a fundraising letter. Like that doesn't generate anything useful, right? So it's just kind of fiddling with that a little bit. So again, I started to dally with it, but we have a little bit more of a robust AI to help us with some of that copywriting. And I just need to dive into it a little bit more.
Yeah, it's actually pretty good once you dive into it, and you can ask Allie about it too. Allie is, I mean, she's been doing all of our social media, and using that. It's in very limited time, but it's developed. We're able to roll out a couple of weeks worth of Twitters and tweeting 5 or 6 times a day. So it's very robust. So once you spend a little bit of time looking at it, you'll find that it's going to work really well.
Sure. Well, that's a nice thing, is like it links directly to the accounts as opposed to me having to like copy paste and carry over. Like it really does a lot of the work. For both our business page, the YouTube business page, quote unquote, and then our Twitter page as well. So like I said, I just haven't had a chance to dive into it, but it definitely will be a time saver, because I want to make sure that we're having that robust interaction with members so that they can actually kind of get involved and get excited. Because again, like when we have the map stuff, people get excited, people want to get more involved, and we're starting to see that. So I do plan on taking advantage of that. Like, it's not as if I'm not going to touch it over the next couple of weeks. It's just more of my focus is let's get some real money in here. Let's not just, it's not that it hasn't been, but we're also at a point where I can start to do that almost exclusively, right? Like a lot of foundation really has been in place now. And so over into really applying for grants and just kind of everything that I've done over the past week or past month has really just been focused on fundraising in some way, shape, or form, as opposed to building out the organization. So yeah, I will start to use that a little bit more to answer your question about the AI generation. So other discussions on fundraising plans. Anything else anybody wants us to do? Any ideas?
No, I mean, I think the bigger, looking for my calculator, sorry. I think the bigger issue is, that we have enough money to keep moving. And I think your wages have been about $500 a month.
Roughly.
So right now between John and I, we're out there for another 10 months.
Right.
But the bigger issue is that we just need more donors.
Yeah, absolutely do.
Because again, the ultimate goal would be, and again, Curtis, I may be speaking out of turn, but I would love to have you do this full time.
Sure. No, and that would be great, but we need to make sure that we get to a place where that's a possibility, right?
Yep.
Yep.
So that basically means that I think the strategy that you're talking about, focusing on fundraising and putting recruiting members as kind of the secondary, I think is probably the correct way to go. And I think that's something that we've probably never done adequately. We've always pushed for membership and board members first.
Yeah.
So
well, and the thing is now, and I think we're actually already starting to see this with like the stickers, right? I mean, the stickers pay for themselves after 2 months of membership, right? But in the meantime, we've got actually someone for a year that they have contributed. And I mean, that's how these things go, right? Yeah, we'll give you a little something as a thank you because we do, and it helps brand us. But it's not that I don't care about getting members, because I definitely do. But we've reached an adequate number in my mind to make it so that we're legitimate, if that makes sense. And so now that we're legitimate, let's continue to actually fun things, get things done. It's like I was talking about the other day, or during the last meeting, of like we really are kind of at this turning point as the organization, in my opinion, of okay, we've got our about a year, we got our feet under us, and now let's really turn programs having UTRU, I know those guys. They're the ones that go out and talk about buses all day. So that's that. Like I said, that's why I really am kind of turning that corner and saying no. Let's start really getting money in. I'm not going to focus nearly as much as getting people in. Putting the map up on Twitter was just because I already had the map for a fundraising type thing, and I knew it would make it. Yeah. So again, that's my strategy. But if there's anything anybody else wants to explore or talk about or discuss, I'm happy to have that conversation. Well, Scott, welcome. Still on mute, but welcome all the same. There you are.
Yeah. Sorry, like I said, I'm doing flower delivery, so I'm driving right now.
No, that's not a problem. So just a reminder, Scott is our head of the South Salt Lake Sugar House chapter. I already kind of gave a brief update about how the meeting went the other day, but and I saw that your email the other day, but is there anything in particular you want to kind of update the board on as far as where you're at, what you need, anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, Devin and I both applied to adopt stops in our area, so we're really excited about that. I started looking at finding some artists in our area that we could use to, put some artwork on our stops. And then let's see, what else was there? And then Devin and I are also going to the open house thing for the 21st South redevelopment on
yes.
Tuesday.
On Tuesday, I'm wondering if there's a way we can get you some info. I don't know if we'll be able to pull that together in time. Well, just kind of, feel free to say, as the head of the South Salt Lake Sugar House chapter of UTRU, yada, yada, yada. I'm sure you won't steer us wrong. And, if people are interested, head on over to utru.org or something like that. But I think that'd be a good opportunity to do that. And just kind of come with a pad and paper just to get names if anybody asks. But that's awesome. No, I'm glad to hear that.
Okay. Yeah, and if you have a template or like a sign up sheet or anything like you were saying, I do have a color printer.
Okay.
So I could print something out quickly.
Yeah, we don't really have a trifold or anything, but we do have a sign up sheet that I can at least send over to you.
Okay.
I'll even customize it for you, and I'll get that over to you, and then hopefully maybe you'll get a couple people out of that.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
Cool.
Curtis, there was a flyer that we made
Oh,
up.
yes, we do have a flyer. It's been a minute.
That we did with Rose Park.
Yeah. No, I forgot about that. I bet I could adapt that. You're right. I forgot about that.
So we did that flyer and then the sign up sheet, and I just kind of put the flyers right next to the sign up sheet, and nobody signed up. It was.
That's fine, but at least we have it, right? I forgot about that. I did put together a flyer. It was a while ago. So maybe I'll just take another look at that really quick and just kind of get it updated if it needs updating. But yeah, I'll get those over to you, and maybe I'll just print out 1 or 2 sign-up sheets and maybe 5 or 10 flyers. I'm sure that's all you'll really need. But yeah, I will get those over to you. So, okay.
Okay. Great, thanks.
Yes, thank you again. I appreciate that. So back to donors though. Is there anything else anybody wants to discuss specifically on strategies that you'd like to see?
So this is only sort of related to that, but we've talked about, I think, about doing a advisory board before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Have we ever reached out to people that we've wanted to just call liaisons? They're not really members or anything, but they're just a contact person at a different important user group that we could say.
Yeah, we have not, to be perfectly honest. And so that would also be, again, and I know that John's kind of hit on this in the past, is like not everybody has to be going out and knocking on the doors to get money, right? There are multiple different ways to use our sets to help bring in donors. And so, if you feel personally that you're stronger on getting people to sit on a board that's kind of this liaison, like you said, then that's absolutely where you should be focusing on. What
I'm thinking is people that have a stake that just want to have a voice kind of to the for the users to the UTA, but through a different venue. So someone like Gateway, who they have a lot of events, they're really pushing to do events down there. And I think it would be one way we could talk to them and say, hey, we can work with you on getting people there, and sort of publicize sort of things.
Sure.
But then give us a little money too, because you guys have an events budget and you can say that you sponsor us.
Right.
Other things like community college or like the Real Stadium and bicycles and just different event oriented. The Gallivan Plaza group and concert series might be another one that we could try and say, hey, can you just give us a contact name in case we need to communicate with you guys, and then we can get them on our newsletter list and do that kind of thing, and that may lead to some funding.
No, that'd be great. Yeah. Randy, could I maybe tap you with that as far as like maybe starting to think of some names or at least just organizations that we can start reaching out to?
I'll try to come up with the list. Yeah.
That'd be great. Yeah, no, I think that's great as well. Okay. Any other discussions anybody wants to have on fundraising ideas? Okay. Yeah, like I said, I really am shifting over almost exclusively. Whereas my activities before were designed to get more people on board, that was my focus. My focus is now let's bring some funds into the organization so that we can start doing the things that we've been talking about. So for me, there's been a shift in focus and what we need to do in order to continue to succeed. You know, I do appreciate, I have continually appreciated, you know, Chris and John and everybody else that's kind of kicked in funds to help keep this going. But, you know, I want you to do this out of the kindness of your heart, not because you feel like we need to do it to keep the organization afloat, right? And so we're moving there slowly but surely. We just need, I just need to get one or two big donors in, and then all the other ones that start to follow. But I am encouraged at the very least with like the sticker program. I know it's not huge, but people seem to be starting to come around on that one.
My heart is black as coal. I don't do anything out of the kindness of my heart.
Well, I'm going to say that you do.
Okay, fine.
All right. Well, open, unless there's anything else, we have an open forum, open discussion for like the next 15 minutes if there's anything in particular anybody wants to discuss.
Yeah. John wants to talk, but his mic is muted.
And his mic.
I said I'm good. I'm good.
Okay.
I mean, the bigger, I think the bigger picture, I think, is what I just kind of want to talk about again. And I think, Curtis, you're 100% right in focusing on what you're focusing on right now. I think the and this is just me, this is retrospective of me over the last 9 years. One of the biggest problems that we've always had is that we don't. So my focus has always been on getting the board together, getting board members. If we have a board, then membership will follow. And as it always turns out, we get board members, but they weren't members to begin with, and so they kind of float away. And then of course the core members that we had just had got burned out and literally you know, knocking your head against the wall with trying to get stuff done. It just has never happened. And so I think, again, and this is why, you know, last year I hired you, was basically that the organization has to revolve around money at this point. And I hate to say it, I really hate to say it, that it would be nice. I mean, there have always been transit rider unions that have been developed out of necessity, like Los Angeles. Los Angeles's transit riders union developed because it was a racist organization that was running the bus system there, right? They were putting, you know, making the Hispanic community lower on the list of priorities, and that's why. And by the way, that's why it's harder to sue transit agencies now because of what they did. But I think that if we focus around the money, then I'm pretty sure that the memberships will come, and we're seeing that with Scott and Devin and the smaller chapters. And by the way, Scott, it's going to be difficult to get members, so don't be don't get down. It really takes a while to build, to build the people. So don't get down about that. Just keep focusing on the chapter and what you want to do. And eventually, you'll develop a core of people that are interested in developing the sugar house area. So don't get down.
Thanks for that encouragement.
Yeah, I mean, it like I said, there's a lot of people that are interested in transit. There's a lot of people that want better transit, but when it comes down to what they're going to do and how they're going to do it, it's a little bit harder. And again, I mean, we've been struggling for 8 or 9 years on making a difference in transit, and the pandemic was really a slap in the face, because it was like we had a good board, the board was moving great, and then all of a sudden the pandemic happened, and then everything fell apart. But again, Curtis, I'm very encouraged that what we're doing is it's actually working, and again, we may not necessarily see that in terms of especially the grants that we're not getting. Like, I know that one was kind of a disappointment, but again, I've dealt with a lot of disappointment with the union, and it's just something that we have to deal with. But again, I'm very, very encouraged by all the board members we have, what we're doing, all of the ideas. And I think that you're 100% right to focus on the money. And again, I mean, the money that I'm donating, the money that John's donating I mean, really, it's that we know that it's working, and we know that you're working too. And again, my big thing is that I want those. I'd prefer you not to make the donations that you make. I would love to just have I would love to have everything to be self-sufficient. And at the current rate that you've been working hours, with the money that we got right now, we have 5 or 6 months. I would love it. I would love it to have at any given point a year's worth of money in the bank
absolutely.
to pay for the time that you're doing. So once we get that, then I think we're on a good standing. So I think the focus is correct, and I think that we'll get there. It's just going to take a little bit more time, and we just have to keep working at it. And the money will come, the members will come, and then the changes will come. So
yeah, exactly. And the typical ratio of grants written to grants obtained is about 10 to 1. So, that's,
well, we're right at about
just
10 then.
Yeah, so something's gonna happen. We got to keep at it. I think once there's enough funding for you and maybe like a small staff, it could be very highly effective in terms of a nonprofit of that 3 to 5, or 5 to 10 size of staff would be very effective here in Utah. The field is wide open. And so I see that, and I know Chris sees that as well. And I'm committed to getting us there as well. And that's why I've been having the conversations I've been having with people. And so, it'll happen. It's going to take time. It's going to take, we just got to keep, plodding along. But we'll get there. And when we do, there'll be, there's not this, from my conversations with people, there is not such an association of or such a negative association related to public transit in Utah. That's been my experience with talking to people, at least at the U and other places that I've had conversations. And so I don't see a lot of big cultural resistance barriers, and I see a lot of infrastructure positivities that could make it for we could ramp this up pretty quickly. And so yeah,
I would agree. I mean, there are definitely a few people out there that are very anti.
And that's okay.
If transit can't pay for itself, it's no good.
Yeah, and I don't care about those people. Like, I
No, I
really
don't
don't
either.
care.
We're not
You
gonna.
know? Yeah. Like,
That's not our
the
job is to
whole,
convert them.
yeah. There's this whole thing in climate change communications around those that are alarmed, those that are concerned, those that don't know, those that are doubtful, and those that are deniers, right?
Yeah.
And that ratio has changed over the past couple decades. And basically, the vast majority of Americans are either alarmed or concerned about climate change.
Right.
And but the loudest are these 5 to 10% of like they're really like 7% now, deniers, and then the doubtfuls another 10%. So we spend this inordinate amount of time dealing with the people that are naysayers, but they're really just a minority. They're a small minority. And there's more of this middle ground of people that they may not get out there and campaign for things, but they'll be in support of it. So you know, that's what gives me some hope.
See, and that's why this Transit Imagined, I think, is going to work, because once we get that up and running, and I mean, I've got routes planned through I mean, once that's up, Curtis, I can start throwing up some of these routes and some of these ideas that I have for.
I mean, we're probably at a point where you can start doing that now if you want to start sending that over. Like if we get a little more.
Yeah,
I would love to get a little more hyper focus.
Yeah, so I need to look at what you have set up, and then I need to see how things are going to work. And what I can do is I can start with, this would probably be a good route to have, and this is why it would be a good route to have, and this is why it needs to be 60 minutes. And hey, 60 minutes, a Riverton route, 60 minutes, that's fine, but this is why it works. It can't bounce all over the neighborhoods like the other routes used to do. But once we start getting that out there, then I think people will, again, the idea is to drive traffic to the website to get people interested in you know, hey, if there was an 8th South route, what would an 8th South route look like? Well, it gets to the railroad tracks and stops for 45 minutes because we don't have because there's a train blocking the tracks. So that is probably a good segue to the Rio Grande initiative, and you know, we should pop over to that and take a look at that. But at any rate, no, I will send me the link to where that is at so I can look to see how it's set up, and then I can figure out how to come up with how to transition the routes that I have in Scribble Maps to the website.
Yeah, no, it's not published yet, so but I'm planning that out within the next couple of days, hopefully, for this, but things got ahead of me. But it will be out shortly, and then once it's published, that link over, and then just kind of back to your note, Jim, like I remember poli-sci students, and Dan Jones, if you remember Dan Jones, he was a pollster. He taught that class, and then one of the things that really stuck with me as far as like messaging and campaigning and that sort of stuff is there's always going to be 3 types of people, and it's sinners, saints, and savables, right? The saints are the ones that are absolutely behind you 100% of the time. They're where we get money from, those sorts of things. And the savables are, you know, kind of those people that we're slowly converting over and getting them over to our side. And then there's the sinners, and we're never going to get them. So we should not be wasting our time with them, right? Aside from, you really want to be lucky on your personal Twitter page, you can. But and so I think we do have a good chunk of saints and savables that Transit Imagine, I think, will take advantage of. And you know, if the good, I would love for members to basically cover day-to-day operations and like, oh, we need more pins and we need more supplies, and then our owners cover me and a staff, then we're golden. Then we really are cooking. And I think over to making that focus. So
yeah, and the focus shifts too, right? Like once you have a staff, you have funding, your focus shifts. Like right now, the strategy seems to have been, or in the past anyways, with Chris, has been building membership as a way to build things. And then if we think about fundraising, we build staff, then the priorities can change. Membership's still important, but then it becomes, oh, there's campaigns we have, or we have targeted things that we're doing, and we have conversations with lawmakers. We start to build that transit sandwich. And so it kind of shifts the focus a bit of the organization.
Great. And I mean, that's what our chapters are for. Our chapters are for helping the members on a day-to-day basis continue to fight for advocacy and advocate for transit. I think that's exactly what they need to be. And then on the more administrative side, we're here to support the chapters. We're here to support programs. We are here to advocate for transit on a macro level. So anyway, I'm glad that it sounds like the board and I have what needs to happen next, and not to neglect our members, but we do need to shift focus over to getting some money in so that we can really support. So we're almost at time, but is there anything else anybody wants to talk about? Okay, with that, we've already have it on the agenda to adjourn. Doesn't have a motion, and so yeah, next meeting is scheduled for June 10th, I do believe, and we'll plan on seeing you then.
Excellent. See ya.
All right, thanks everyone.
Thanks everybody.